Hi guys, it's Isis again, and I'm here to teach you another plotting technique. It's one of my favorites because it's so varied, and a lot of people do it a couple different ways, but that's storyboarding, and there's tons of ways to storyboard. You've probably looked or probably know it as using the index cards, or my personal favorite, Post-it notes. I really like using Post-it notes because super cheap, super cheap. You get a bunch for a lot of money, for not very much money, and they stick everywhere. And they're usually readily available. If you work in an office, you probably have a couple of these Post-it notes, so you don't have to spend money. I'm not saying embezzle from your company. What I am saying is Post-it notes are everywhere. And you probably have some free ones somewhere in your house. From a conference or something. So definitely use those. You also can use index cards, and index cards are super cheap. Index cards are sold at dollar stores, and even Walmart has them for cheaper than $1. So you can get a big stack of index cards. I personally like the 4x6 because I like having space to write. But you can also use like different colors if you want. So one way to use index cards and or Post-it notes is how Robert Owen Butler has said in his book Where Art Comes From. So what he does is essentially that he will write down maybe an interaction between a couple of characters. Maybe he's writing something that he wants to happen in the novel. Maybe he has an idea for a scene. Maybe he likes a setting. So he writes those ideas, one idea per card, and he sets them out. And he puts them in an order that he thinks makes sense for him at that time, in that moment. And so he begins writing by grabbing the first card, and he writes that scene. He goes from scene to scene, card to card. And maybe there's something that happens between card 33 and card 34, but there's no card in between those two. There's nothing that tells them what's going on between those two scenes, right? That's where he becomes guy on the fly and he writes what he thinks is the connective tissue between those two scenes. So it's a lot of thinking, not a lot of speed though if you're doing this for NaNoWriMo, but it may work for editing in some way, shape, or form. So this may be useful, or this technique may be useful in some way, shape, or form, but how I have used it is that I've literally wrote what I had an idea for the scene, and I have yanked it off, put them on a table, and have kind of worked my magic and put them in an order that I think they go. And then I use each one of those cards as inspiration for a scene and how it all keeps moving. So I really like the way that works and how that flows. The downside is that you've got a bunch of cards or a bunch of little pieces of paper to keep track of. So that's a downside. So if you have your own office, which you probably may, considering it's COVID season, this may work because you can just put everything on a bulletin board. Have you ever seen the writer's room of maybe a TV show? This is also how they do it. They call it storyboarding. And storyboarding, they have these index cards and they have these texts that are on bulletin boards. And each color means something different. It means something in the scene. Maybe it's where plot A meets plot B. And so you can actually color code your storyboarding as well. And storyboarding is fun, but it's also intricate. And this is a perfect time to do storyboarding if you're going to use it for NaNoWriMo, if you're going to use it to help you build your plot, and you just want a guidebook for it. Here's what's so interesting about writing. It's your business. It's your novel. It's your story. You can do what you want with it. You don't necessarily have to do what you write down. This is just a roadmap. Maybe you're going from here to Albuquerque, or if you like Bugs Bunny, Walla Walla, Washington. And maybe you just want to take a detour to see the world's biggest rubber band ball. That's perfectly fine. It's your vacation, it's your mileage, it's your gas. Do what you want. And then maybe after you're done with the rubber band ball, you go back to your roadmap or you go see the next attraction. It doesn't matter. It's your story. Maybe this is just the roadmap in case you get lost. All right, let me show you another thing that I really like. I love Scrivener. It's one of my favorite pieces of software. I completely love it because I don't write linearly. I actually like writing in pieces, and doing stuff like this helps me write in pieces. Because I know that if I'm on card 5, but I'm really interested in card 15, I'm gonna go write card 15 first. And then I'll come back to card 5, or maybe I'll just jump to card 68. It doesn't matter. I have a roadmap, and the roadmap is gonna tell me where I can go. And so what's so great about Scrivener is that I can write scenes and write chapters out of order and then move them back in order very, very easily just by dragging things around. So let me show you Scrivener and what that looks like. I have it open right now. And so I'm going to take you through the process of opening up a fiction section, a fiction novel, preferably with sections. So let's go ahead and do another screen share. And I am going to open up Scrivener. And when you open up Scrivener, of course, Scrivener is something you have to pay for. When you open it up, you get this wonderful screen. I have it in night mode. So if it's not in night mode, of course it will be white. And you have all these options. You can do a nonfiction, you can do fiction, you can have a blank file, you can write a script. And under all of these, you have different things. So under fiction, you can have a short story, a novel with parts, a regular novel without parts. I don't know what that is, but okay. I'm gonna go with novel with parts because again, I do not write linearly. And I am going to open that up and I am gonna title this example. So what's so awesome also about Scrivener is that this actually backs up not so much on my desktop, it backs up to a Dropbox, which means that I can download the Scrivener app on my iPad or on my phone, and it will back up onto the Dropbox. So I can take it with me wherever I go. What isn't so great is that if you're maybe working from work and you want to like take your lunch hour to work on it, because it's proprietary, not proprietary, but because there has licenses. If you already have, say, a Windows computer at home, you're going to have to buy another license for the Windows computer at work. Or if you have a Mac, and you want to work on a Windows somewhere else, you're going to have to buy another license. So it's not that good to go across platforms like that. But if you have it synced to a Dropbox, and it's one of those things that you have your desktop computer, and then you're going to grab maybe your iPad or your tablet, and you have a keyboard attached to that, and you're going to go sit in Starbucks or a coffee shop or somewhere where you can be safe. There you go. Here we are with Scrivener, and it's pretty dope. Let me try sharing one more time. There you go. All right, here we go. So what's so great, of course, you can write chapter by chapter, and within those chapters you have some scenes. So if you did scene and sequel, if you watched the scene and sequel video, it's really great to do scene and sequel because then you can move things around, right? But also, if you wanted to do a view of your chapter, you actually can click the big sections, which are right here, these three little folders. You can click on that and you'll have actual index cards here. So let's say you want to write something along the lines of a scene where, if we're going to follow our wonderful story that we've been following the last couple of videos, a scene where Peter finds out he's short in front of mob boss. Dun, 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 dun. And you can actually write notes from here. Peter opens the envelope and they count money in front of him twice. Oops. Ah, ah. He is short 50 bones. Dun, 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 dun. And so you have a note here, right? And so whenever you're ready to write, you click on that note. Well, let me go back. You see this wonderful array of index cards, virtual index cards, and you see this top here. It's just like the title of your card, right? And so you see how this kind of has the same title? So this correlates with this. You click on this, and now this is a whole blank sheet where you can actually write out that scene. Isn't that cool? So maybe you have another scene you want to do it, and maybe this is where they're trying to do the bank heist. So out thanks for the heist. A quick drive around town and some visits, and they find out quickly that robbing a bank is hard. They begin doing research by watching Ocean's 11. Okay, so you have some notes here about this, and I want you to see, like, on the right hand side, you also have what this says on the card. So you have your little note here and the title of your card, and again on the left hand side you see that the beginning part of your title is here. You click on that, and this is the blank document where you actually write out the scene. You want to remember what you actually said, the synopsis is on the right hand side, and from there you can actually go through and do the wonderful things. If you're trying to maybe rearrange some things, you literally can click on it on your card and drag it wherever you need to go. Maybe this is what you want to put between these two cards. You go ahead and drag it, and it goes in the order that they need to go. As you can see on the left-hand side, it also moves the cards in the order, or moves the sections in the order where they need to go as well. So you will always in control of the order of your book and how it goes. And what's so great about this is that maybe you have your scene and sequel, if you've done scene and sequel, happening within the cards. Maybe you have a scene that you want to do, and it's like the goal scene. And then you have the reaction scene, or the dilemma, or the disaster, or the conflict. And you have the scene, and you want to make sure that everything is in order and everything makes sense. This is a great way to do that. And maybe you have a card that says dilemma, but really that's supposed to be reaction. So you can change the name of it and change it from a dilemma to a reaction, or what you want, or whatever you would like, and use things as they go. And remember, when you move these cards, it moves on the left-hand side too. So you always have things in order, and you always can see the synopsis of your card on the right-hand side. Isn't that pretty cool? I figured that you would like that. All right, I want to show you one more thing. a long video, but this time we are going to go into my iPad. As you know, I do like to screen share my iPad. So I'm going to screen share my iPad. And this is an app called CardFlow. And this is for any iOS system. I'm sure there is a system for Android. Since I don't have an Android, I can't tell you, but here we go. So this works really basically the same as everything else I've shown you, but it's just digital. And it's a way to maybe do some plotting while maybe you're at lunch, maybe you're going to the park, you can take your iPad with you and do some plotting. So easily, what you want to do is to start a board. And you start a board by clicking on this plus sign. And so when you get a board, it's blank. So it's this gray box here. You want to double tap it, and it will open. It will open up. And so what you want to do is double tap, and this is where it gets tricky. There you go. You want to double tap, and an index card comes. Yay! So maybe you start plotting, and this is where Peter finds out that he's short $50 and begs for more time, right? So that's your notes. And so you want to keep going and plotting. There's a plus sign right here on the right-hand side. You click on that plus sign, and then you keep going. Wendy gets notice from boss. Of new deadline. Which is the same night as the heist. Dun, dun, dun. And you keep going, right? And so when you're done, you want to take your 2 fingers and make it smaller, and you have a bunch of cards. You can actually touch on one and move them around how you want them to go, in any order you want them to go. To make them bigger, of course, you're going to double click, and there's your wonderful card again. See how that works? And so you can move things around. It's really easy. I've actually not used this software often, so I can't tell you how awesome this is, but I can tell you it's really nice to have that. I've used this to plot out other things, not so much stories, but maybe like some plans I've had for maybe a project. And so it's useful to actually have that there and have it where I can access it outside of work. Because sometimes we do get computer fatigue, or we do get equipment fatigue. And it's nice to maybe just take the iPad and, like, pre-COVID, of course, go to the library or go to Starbucks and just write down some notes and write down how things are going to go. And so that helps a lot. And I can see how using this would be helpful for me as a writer to understand and plot out my wonderful, wonderful novel. Well, that's all I got for you today. I hope this is helpful. Plotting out your novel should be really, really fun. I hope to see you later. Bye.